Things on New Romulus have been progressing apace, with the research into the ruins already established on the planet, as well as the construction of new cities and settlements to house the Romulan people. Over time, many more wayward souls have been finding their way to Mol'Rihan for the safety and security that it offers, especially now that the Tal Shiar have been driven out. Today, however, we're meeting up with the leader of this planet, Dewan, and his head of research, Adrana Tkarav, to share what has been unearthed.
I'm grateful for all you've done for our colony. We wouldn't be as far along as we are without your assistance. That's why I wanted you here today, to hear for yourself some of what we found. Doctor?
What we found in our archaeological surveys is that the planet was populated long before our people arrived after the Sundering. We've discovered multiple ruins from that time period that correspond to the few historical records we still have. Most of our data from that era was lost with the homeworld.
And the sword?
I'm ready to confirm that the blade found at the battle site is the sword of the Raptor Star. We don't have a visual record of the sword, but the one we have matches written accounts, and a quantum analysis shows signs of masterwork. Something like this could have only been made by Saharian.
We were right to come here. The sword will become a symbol of our reborn civilization. You were saying there was an earlier culture. What do you know about them?
The oldest ruins we found are approximately 150,000 years old, but I suspect that there may be some even older, based on preliminary findings that are still being analyzed. These people were quite advanced. While the oldest ruins show a culture that was defined by its devotion to a series of deities, later they developed technology, art, even spaceflight. Roughly 150,000 years ago, however, there was some sort of worldwide seismic event. Every volcano on the planet erupted, presumably blocking out the sun. Ambient temperatures dropped dramatically. The radiation count spiked. We're still repairing that damage. The survivors of this cataclysm retreated to caves in the warmest areas of the planet, but they died out soon afterward.
And what caused this event?
We're still working on that. We have found a new site deep underground near an active volcano, but there are massive power spikes unrelated to the magma flow. If there is a source of the seismic instability, it should be there. We would have to send down a team to investigate, though, and it is quite dangerous. I wouldn't send anyone down without an environmental suit. I could go myself, but...
I'm not ready to authorize you to do that, Doctor. Our people have too few scientists left. You and your crew are better equipped and trained for something like this. I know I'm asking a great deal, especially after all the help you've given us already. But your being here shows that my people and yours don't have to be adversaries. Not anymore. Not all Romulans think cooperation like this is possible. I do. Are you willing to see it through to the end?
So it's down to us to investigate these ruins under the surface, as Dewan is unwilling to risk a few science teams on the expedition. I feel a little used, but this is a major opportunity to get some first-hand observations of an extinct culture. Once again we're faced with a long hike southwards, but as of our last excursions, we have permission to beam to the nearest outpost and head southwest from there. Our target is the Hual ruins, which are on volcanically active ground, with the readings coming from a series of lava tubes deep within the crust of the planet. As we head through the thinned forest, down paths carved by survey teams ahead of ours, we suddenly see the signs of geological activity, with fissures spewing gases into the air amid the verdant growth of nature. As we reach the dig site, we're faced with a massive structure, possibly a drill and elevator shaft, and as usual we check in with the local science team, logging ourselves with the local transporter. These ruins are indeed ancient, as they depict Vulcan or early Romulans wielding Lurper, the traditional Vulcan-bladed staff, wielded nowadays for a myriad of official functions, but originating in their more barbaric pre-Surak times. The circular structure may well have been an arena for combat, as early Vulcans often resorted to settling matters in this method. Clearly this ruin too is being analysed with the addition of Romulan technology, and I have to remind myself that this is Romulan history, not Vulcan, but dating to a point so early in their timeline that the two share many similarities. We head down the elevator shaft to the recently uncovered ruins, and Temet points out that this chamber looks like it dates back to the time of the Sundering, when the Romulans split off from the Vulcans and settled on Dewa 3 briefly before continuing on their way to Romulus. I'd have to agree, as the writings on the wall, carved into the ancient stone, mirrors that of Romulan lettering. She also notes the lack of dust, indicating that this area must have been practically sealed against the outside world, untouched for millennia. There is a haze in the air, however, that the soft lighting, added by initial survey teams, illuminates. The gases are coming from somewhere then. This ornamentation also resembles the winged raptor hovering over two spheres, but it's probably my imagination, as they hadn't settled Romulus and Remus yet. Heading down the long tunnels, we see the air glowing with an orange hue as temperatures climb. We were told that seismic events exposed these tunnels to active lava tubes, which would be the source of the mists in the air and the increasing heat. We won't be able to go much further without environmental protection. We round the corner into the final chamber, at least that is accessible, and are immediately greeted with the signs of recent and major damage. It looks as if the floor gave way during an earthquake and fell into tunnels beneath the ruins. A myriad of lights indicate the actions of curious researchers, but the levels of toxic gas down there have prevented further exploration. The heat too can be felt from here, and we are certainly not going any further until we don our suits. Part of our job is to take readings of the sites of seismic stress to evaluate the danger of further quakes. There's also still a lot of equipment down here that the Republic will probably want back, so we'll play the canary and see if it's safe to do so. We change into the protective gear that's been left for us by equipping it from our inventory and activating its functions. So, are we ready, team? Wait, who again? Nulia, raise your hand. Temet? Bizarre, come on guys, work with me here. Alright, onwards and downwards it is. We ease our way over the broken stone into the fiery depths of another world. Mere meters from the lava tube's natural formations, we can see a very artificial frame silhouetted against the burning glow. We were briefed that the structures down here are our true goal. Researchers from the ruins behind us must have been able to take some scans to identify the age of the deeper constructs, but I wasn't expecting to see such intact structures. My security officer breaks the mysticism, however, as he notifies us of Tholian life signs. We're not the first people down here for thousands of years, it seems. Also, I'm trying not to think about the fact that lava pouring down from the ceiling means that there's probably a magma chamber right above us. Before we marvel at these ancient structures, let's first introduce ourselves to our hosts. Or are we the hosts and the Tholians are trespassers? Whatever the case, last interactions with them haven't been ideal, so perhaps we should approach from a position of peaceful negotiation. It seems that this environment is similar enough to their homeworld that they can survive without the need for their own pressure suits, a reversal of our last encounter where we are now encased in metal in a hostile atmosphere. Greetings, I am Captain Mark Hale of the USS Armiger, Starfleet, in partnership with the Romulan Republic, and okay, we're firing. Establishing a dialogue with the Tholians is still rather problematic, it seems. We press deeper into the subterranean structures and meet with resistance from the Tholians, who seem all too eager to engage the interlopers in combat. As many of them are single patrols, we can take them out with relative ease from afar. Along the way, we may as well investigate what they were doing here. If our last encounters have been any indicator, then they're researching this place too. However, they do so jealously, hoarding the knowledge and technologies to be gained with spiteful resentment to any who interfere. After taking some more scans, an interesting icon catches my eye and we take a closer look. Written around the disc are words in an ancient Dewan script, and chronicles the discovery of an Iconian gateway by the Dewans. If I had to guess, which I don't, because of the history pieced together by Romulan researchers and Federation archives, this facility was dedicated to experimentation with the Iconian gateway, and this emblem, signifying the Iconian people themselves, was likely used as a dedication plaque of sorts for this facility. This is supported by the addition of the lettering around the edge, like a mission statement. The next room is filled with Tholians and can be a mess if you charge straight in. Better to lure them into a choke point where explosives and focused fire can drive them down in number before we actually enter the chamber beyond to pacify the remaining ones. The Tholians show us a new ability, a sort of grenade that deploys a sticky webbing to inhibit movement and make us easy pickings for their fire. The analogy to spiders just continues to grow, doesn't it? Inside the chamber we find another glyph and a seismic stress point. This glyph details the restoration of the Iconian gateway. It seems the lure of the gateways is a constant across the eons. Oh, I shouldn't have looked down. But whatever this material is, clearly it isn't just glass. That wouldn't have survived all these years and exposure to magma. What's more, these walls seem to be energy fields of some description designed to isolate the atmosphere inside these halls from the lava chambers in which they're built. This logically means that the environment inside these walls is meant to be different from that outside of them, and that the Tholians likely simply haven't activated any form of life support. Further proof that these ruins aren't suited for them is in the inclusion of stairs. We've visited a Tholian ship once before in 2270, and there were no stairs, being too ungainly for Tholian limbs. Instead, ramps provided stable walking surfaces for them. Whoever built this place was of similar proportions, if not a bit smaller, than a human, and we might have just found some more answers. This orb, suspended and surrounded in the air by controls, looks unmistakably Iconian in influence, but was built by Dewan hands. We press on and deeper, following some overhead pipes to their termination. It opens up into a massive underground chamber, and at the far side of which is a giant thermal tap, a big, beating, burning heart in the arteries of molten rock. Unfortunately, the Tholians that have taken up residence here are unlikely to yield it to us without a fight. With the area secured, for now, we're free to investigate these structures. Analysis shows that this is a recording device which contains logs dating back hundreds of thousands of years, although time has taken its toll on it and it is significantly damaged. Its partner on the other side is also completely inoperable. Locating a control panel at the western edge of the chamber, we quickly deduce that the tectonic activity may have been caused by the Tholians' attempted reactivation of this Iconian facility. Shutting down their experiment will hopefully prevent further damage and avoid potential catastrophe. However, my bumbling attempt at messing with 150,000-year-old technology appears to have caused a cascading overload that needs to be curtailed. Tholians also beam in to stop us. They must be holed up nearby, as it's unlikely that they can beam in from the surface. During this prolonged firefight, we are supposed to prevent the surrounding relays from overloading by interacting with them to shunt power to another relay or risk it exploding into useless debris. We have to keep at least two operational, a feat harder to achieve when under fire because we can constantly be interrupted by the Tholians. However, during one of my attempts at this, I did lose all four of the relays, and the mission continued without occurrence. No catastrophic explosion, no destruction of Romulus, just continuing as normal. I'm not sure if this mission has been made easier by removing this constraint so people can just clear the content and move on, or if it's a glitch. But the final boss, the Tholian Captain, spawned in anyway, and we engaged in a final battle. I was able to replicate this several times just to check, and yeah, it seems that this mission completes anyway. Though not to make light of the encounter, as the Tholian Captain is just as dangerous as the last large Tholian we fought, and once again, working it into a corner and hosing it down with damage over time worked here too. When the smoke clears, Temet points out that the technology shouldn't so readily be dismissed. If we can repair and operate this thermal tap, then it could be used to provide clean energy for new Romulus, and perhaps we could even explore the Iconian secrets ourselves. With the area secured and no more signs of Tholian invasion, we call back to Dewan to discover him suited up and eagerly awaiting our report.
I received your signal. Thank you for calling us down. I knew we could count on you.
Sir, I think I found some kind of log or recording.
Can you activate it?
I'm not sure. It has some iconography similar to artifacts found in the Isha Forest Cave. This symbol in particular looks... Is that...
An Iconian gateway? Yes, I believe it is.
Is that an Iconian running through the gateway? Could that be an Iconian? I think another recording is starting. Those look like the same creatures we saw with the Iconian. It looks like they've hooked some kind of machinery up to the gateway. I think they're trying to power the gateway.
How old are those recordings?
This can't be right. The first one seems to be 200,000 years old. The second one was recorded 50,000 years after that. And were those things Iconians?
We have a lot of research to do before any of those questions can be answered. This gate is clearly inoperable. Do you believe it could be reactivated?
With time, yes, I believe so. By the elements! Do you know what this means?
It means we have a chance to learn about one of the galaxy's most feared and ancient races. We couldn't have done any of this without you. As amazing as this discovery is, it pales in comparison to what you've done for me and my people. I could never fully or properly express my gratitude for everything you've accomplished since coming to New Romulus. Because of you, the Romulans and Remans truly have a chance at starting a new life. You've helped secure our new home and given us a fighting chance at survival. There are no words that will ever fully express my gratitude. Information discovered from researching this gate will be shared, of course. Some people would be opposed to the releasing of secrets such as these, but time and time again, you have proven that we can all work together for a brighter future and for a better Romulus. I thank you.
We file our report to Starfleet and are rewarded with a transmission straight from Admiral Quinn himself, thanking us for our work in strengthening Romulan Federation relations. This marks the final mission of the new Romulus story arc and the completion of this chapter. However, we are not done with Mol'Rihan yet. The Romulans have a new discovery to occupy themselves with, and the procurement of an Iconian gateway, even a defunct one, is sure to draw interest from the Alpha Quadrant powers, granting more respect and prestige to this growing nation. The recording we witnessed was heavily distorted by degradation, but it's amazing that it worked at all. Iconian technology has not only proved to be incredible, but long-lasting too, as Captain Jean-Luc Picard could attest to with the discovery of Iconia back in 2365, when the USS Yamato was destroyed by an Iconian probe, and a functional Iconian gateway was even used by the Captain. It seemed to show an Iconian fleeing into the gate after some damage or impact, though the recording was jumping around somewhat, deserting the diminutive creatures who must have been the native Dewans. The second recording was millennia later, when the Dewans rediscovered the gateway, constructed this facility and thermal power tap, and tried to access it once again. Unfortunately, this looks to be the event that sparked the cataclysm that killed their society, and this facility was lost to time. Amazingly intact and functional to this day, I wouldn't be surprised to learn that this was built off of reverse-engineered Iconian tech, as with the Dewan statue we passed earlier. We'll have to give the science teams time to play around with what has been unearthed here today, but it will play a large part in events to come. And I hope you'll be there to join the crew of the USS Armiger as we continue to explore the ever-expanding narrative of Star Trek Online. And when we activate the gateway and see where it leads, alongside Captain Sean of the Enterprise F and a familiar Klingon ambassador of the House of Mol'Rihan. Until then, I've been Rick, and I'll see you for the next part as we begin the Dyson Sphere story arc. Thanks again, and goodbye.